please have regard to the contents of paragraph 40 and inform the Commission what else Mr. Zulu shared with you during that meeting.
So this was on the day he had taken the liberty to come to my house, and we had had a discussion after losing a phone, and he informed me that Brigadier Mkhwanazi had told him that I was a dirty cop and that I had a defeating the ends of justice case registered against my name. And, I could see how this was about to unfold going forward.
What is your understanding of the meaning of a dirty cop?
If you're being investigated for issues that are related to blue lights and what his action was contributing to that, how is it defeating the ends of justice case related to his investigation? But nonetheless, I'm more than willing to share what the content of that is, of the defeating the ends of justice, if you so permit. So whilst we had an incident where one of our officers in the EMPD was shot in an attempted hijacking. So I got to the scene, being one of the first higher ranking officers that arrived at the scene. Upon arrival, I'm issued with this firearm, which has been taken out of a vehicle by one of the colleagues, and said to me that I had kept this safe to give to our armory. But since you are here, ma'am, as a ranking officer, please do ensure that it gets to our armory section. And I did precisely that. I called our armory section to come to the scene of the incident. But before they had arrived, an officer from Norcom Park SAPS, they arrived at the scene where EMPD already had cordoned off the scene. We've used cones to close off what would be remaining cartridges on the scene. But at no given point was the firearm placed anywhere on the scene. It was taken from a vehicle and handed over to me in my capacity as a senior official within the EMPD. And of course with the intention that from the scene itself, it would be given to our armory section. When this officer, Barbara Ferreira, I think she's a communications officer under the South African Police Services for Norcom Park, she came there and had misconstrued that the firearm was removed from the scene by myself. And of course, I only obtained it from the officer, and furthermore, the officer had explained that no, it wasn't part of the activities of that scene, and that he only kept it with him for safekeeping, and that it was given to me to then give to the armory. And I don't know what the merit of the case is. I don't even know how far it is. It's a 2023 matter though.
Who would have laid the criminal charge?
It was opened by the very same communications officer. And I think what was misunderstanding there was, I am a communications person within the EMPD. I'm here in my capacity as the spokesperson to report on the occurrence of what had transpired. But when she comes as from the South African Police Services and having to want to make communication and just politely declining that, then it just became something of ego testing fights that was very unnecessary. Thank you, Commissioners.
Col Thepa, please then just update the Commission on what the status of that criminal complaint is, as you know it.
It's unknown to me. The last we had met up with the investigating officer, Van Veek, also aligned to the Norcom Park detective section, we had taken warning statements. What is the outcome thereof? It's unknown to me, Commissioners.
And in paragraph 41 of your witness statement, paragraph 41 on page 11, you set out some comments or reflections there in light of what Mr. Zulu disclosed to you. Please share those.
Yeah, it became quite clear that Brigadier Mkhwanazi carried ill wills and, will do anything to discredit anybody who then comes forward and has to reduce to writing or even give statement as to the occurrence of what happened with the Blue Light saga. And furthermore, I think what disturbed Brigadier Mkhwanazi then, it is the fact that how I chose to handle this media inquiry, having to had sent it to the acting chief as opposed to maybe just making him aware of what the developments were within the department.
And if you turn over the page, you go to page 12 of your witness statement. In those last two paragraphs of this theme, please detail to the Commission any further developments after that meeting with Mr. Kulu.
No, I didn't get any feedback from Mr. Kulu, but it would be a continuous checking in on how far are we, is there anything. So there was a point I remember where Mr. Kulu was promising imminent arrests, to say that, we almost on the verge of completion and there would be arrest effected, and as such just hang 10. But it then became clear that there were 3 individuals whose assistance was critical in this investigation. That would be myself, for the role which I had played by virtue of receiving this media inquiry and forwarding it to Commissioner Spies without notifying or involving the Deputy Chief of Police Operations and Specialized Services and or the Brigadier himself, who is the man in question. And again, Commissioner Spies, who had then taken the stance in referring this into an investigation through our internal affairs, and furthermore, Ivan du Plessis, who was then responsible for critical documentation in the Office of the Chief of Police as being the staff officer, and furthermore the role that he had played in facilitating the information sharing sessions with the EMPD.
Thank you, Colonel Thepa. You are now at paragraph 44 in your witness statement. Can I ask you to share the details of that paragraph with the Commission?
It was only later then that I had discovered that this is going to have some effect on me and that I was going to get some blowbacks for the role which I had played. So in essence, in responding to this media inquiry and assisting EMPD, powerful individuals were not pleased with the transparent response of the EMPD media unit, and it became clear that I offended some people by responding to the media inquiry in the manner that I did.
Can I then ask you to have regard to paragraph 45 of your statement?
Yes.
Under the new subheading there. Can I invite you to share with the Commission what you experienced in July of 2023?
So in July 2023, it was the day of my first attack. It was a Saturday morning, I remember. I woke up to go to the cemetery where my late mother was, and I also had a relative who had recently bought a car, so I had taken that vehicle and made a turn at the Bredel Cemetery. And coming back, I was well within where I live, the street that I live in Tembisa. I was sitting with a neighbor who was on the passenger seat, and 3 men came up to the vehicle that I was in. They came there. The one that came around to the driver's seat cocked a firearm and pointed it to me. I had the windows down, and he then demanded that I switch off the vehicle. So he puts his hand in to try and reach for the keys on the ignition, but it's not the kind that you start manually with the key. It's those press button. And there was a lot of things that was being said. Behind me, as I was on the driver's seat, another came in and there was this sharp metal object against my neck. Initially, I thought, yes, a knife that's going to slit my throat, only to discover that that is a firearm. And that, I think what hurt me the most with everything that was said at that point, it was then, it is things that are work related. And the fact that, they want a phone from me and the information which they want, and the fact that they would be, sorry, commissioners. I was hit on the head with a firearm. The accosters shoved me to the side of the passenger seat. They got into the car and they drove off. They drove past my house, and I could see my neighbor who's literally looking inside the vehicle to identify who the drivers are.
Ms. Thepa, should we take a short adjournment for you to compose yourself, perhaps?
Please, Commissioner.
Let us adjourn. You will please indicate to us, Ms. Ngokuhlaselwa. Hello, Ms. Thepa. Let's continue if you can.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I had stated that sometime in July 2023, it was on a Saturday where I had gone to my late mother's grave, situated in Bredell, and on my way back, I had parked just in the street that I live in. I had a neighbor who was sitting on the passenger seat when three accosters, came to the vehicle that I was driving. The one came onto the driver's side. The one sat behind me at behind the driver's seat, and the one had caught in, or rather closed in, the passenger that was sitting on the side. And after seeing that firearm, and when you work with firearm, you think that you have it under control up until it happens to you. So he cocks a firearm, points at me, and then he reaches to switch off the ignition, but he cannot because it is those push start button vehicles. And he instructs me right then, Moto, meaning switch off the car. I'm very confused. I'm puzzled as to what is happening. Am I being mugged? Are they taking something? What is it that they want these people? So the three guys, the one that was sitting on the passenger side, they then take him to place him at the back seat. And I'm now being shoved to sit on the passenger seat, where the one that had cocked the firearm initially then gets onto the driver's seat. They then drive off with us, but in the vehicle there's only 4 of us. As to where the third person had gone, probably back to the vehicle that they had came in, and so they drive the car past my house, and the entire time things being said, it's things that, they would want information on the phone. It's things that, I'm a problem at work. I'm wondering as to say, how am I a problem at work? We drive, they take us to Ivory Park. The driver then parks on the side of the road, but by then, I'm confused. When you have an out-of-body experience, it be out of fear, it be out of whatever that comes with it. I had passed out, and seemingly these guys, the only thing they were mainly concerned about was my phone. They had even
can you please explain the out-of-body phenomenon? I've heard people use that term. I'm not quite sure what it means.
I'm unable to do anything. I'm numb. I'm mute. I'm not responsive. I'm trying to even make sense of how I could even project this thing that I was going through. But in essence, I'm so out of it that I'm even unable to respond, to even lift, to even make a sound.
But you continue to see or perceive what's going on.
I continued seeing everything that was happening. I had saw them drive past my house. I would even direct as to say which streets they used going there to Ivory Park. But upon the Ivory territory, I'm not so familiar with it. But that's where the vehicle eventually came to a stop. And whilst halted there, they tried getting the neighbor now to open my phone and said that, but the information sifuna kule phone. I'm thinking, what information would that be? Why would I be in possession of any information that anybody would want in that element? Commissioners, this must have been one of the most scariest things by far, because I'm hit with this metal object, a firearm. I have another one sticking out on my neck.
When you described it earlier before we adjourned, you said you felt a sharp object.
Correct.
In your statement, you said you felt a cold object.
Correct.
Yes,
it was a cold object that had a reflection, a silver reflection on it. So if you just take a glance at it, you would seemingly think it's a knife under the circumstance, only to discover it is a firearm. And when we got to Ivory Park, and from recollection, they had then taken my phone, they had taken my wallet, but what puzzled me the most, it's the fact that I even had my bank cards in there. They could have easily accessed money from them. I'm driving a brand new vehicle that still had a temporary permit at the back that they could have taken. So what exactly do they want? They didn't come there for the car. They didn't come there for the wallet, nor the money. But the ultimate thing that was being said consistently was the phone that had information. As to what information, it is still unknown to me.
Thank you, Colonel. Perhaps you could continue from paragraph 55 and discuss what happened thereafter.
So they then request my neighbor they ask him as to what's wrong with me, but he then informs them that I'm epileptic. So the one had already exited the vehicle, so they instruct him to then come around and drive me to hospital. and he managed to move the vehicle slightly off. He's not much of a driver himself, but just to attempt in getting us away from it. And we then drove straight to home because my phone is gone, my bank cards are gone. The one thing that I would put as a priority, it is the stoppage of the bank cards. Upon getting home, was able to access the phone, one of the relatives. I then called a friend who I'd given my ID number to say, please call Standard Bank, call Capitec, that you block my cards. And I then moved from home with the guy. We went to the Rabasoto police station. Whilst at the police station, I'm registering this case of kidnapping and, being pointed with firearm and theft, robbery. They assist me to an extent that, the docket is open, the A1 statement is written, the 3M forms I've completed, even the cover, the docket cover, the diary SAP 5 is then made. And just on its completion, they then tell me that because at some point where this accosters had driven the vehicle, they would need to obtain the fingerprints. And, it was a correct procedure to say the least. But what had been a bit of a hindrance for me, commissioners, is this vehicle doesn't even belong to me. What they had wanted to do is they had wanted to take this vehicle and take it to their pounds, maybe between Van Rijn or even Eriton for that matter. I'm privileged by virtue of being a law enforcement agent to know exactly what happens at those pounds. A new vehicle coming in, coming out, it would be having certain parts gone, certain things removed from it. How am I then liable to things that wasn't my own making? I think it is the only thing that had directed me, or rather pushed me not to want to give in the vehicle for further processing. But I further suggested to the station and the guy that was assisting me, the officer that was taking the statement, to say, I do not mind if the LCRC is called to the station, that they process and take fingerprints at the station. But what would be a challenge for me, it would be that which would allow the vehicle to be taken to the SAPS 13 and be kept at their pound over a certain period due to the theft that happens there.
And sorry, Colonel, what is the LCRC?
The local criminal register record, the LCR, the criminal register, the local criminal register record, yes.
Local Criminal Records Center.
Centers, my
That's
apology,
at the top of page 15 of your statement.
My apology, Commissioner.
No problem.
Thank you, Colonel. So after you've explained your hesitation or reluctance to hand the car over at the police station, what then was the response you received there? You're at paragraph 58.
They told me that they cannot register the case. They told me that if I'm refusing then to have this vehicle taken into the pound, then they will not register the case.
Please continue.
So are we on paragraph 55, you said?
59.
59, no apology. So
maybe before you do that, Colonel Thepa, before this incident, had you ever had any incidents, negative incidents that relate to the performance of your functions?
Absolutely not, Commissioner. Absolutely not. In my 16 years of experience working as an officer, I have never been in any altercation, any physical thing that would amount to this, that I'm further handled, for lack of a better word.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to think, and I'll mention personal experiences. When used to have those detachable radios in cars. On one occasion, that was stolen from my car. The police came to my house and did that dusting up thing and all that to take fingerprints. And there was a second incident also involving my car. I forget what that was about. Again, the police came to my house and again took the fingerprints at my house. I'm just trying to understand why the police could not have gone to wherever the car was to do this, or have things since changed?
Commissioner, it's still a confusing element for me, because as a law enforcement in my existence within the EMPD, in execution of my duties, I would recover vehicles. Part of the recovery would be summoning the LCRC, having a photographer come out to the scene, unless it would be with unfavorable weather conditions, that then they would request that, it be done at the station or even at the pound. But under no circumstance would they then say, let's take this vehicle to an SAP 13 pound for processing, whereas I know in my personal capacity that, these people do come out to the scene. And it wasn't even an instruction being given. It was a humble request to the SAPS and saying, please, the vehicle doesn't belong to me. If it can be processed at the station, I don't even mind waiting. I will do just that. But seemingly that wasn't the case.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry. In that last paragraph, the last sentence at paragraph 58, you say they declined to register the case at that point, even though the docket was completed. Can you just speak to that a little bit? Because you seem to be suggesting that there was sufficient information to open a docket.
Yes. So there was sufficient information. Already they had reduced to writing the statement I had deposed to them. And the fact that, here's an A1 statement that is existing. Here are the preamble statements, the diary that gets inserted into the docket, the nature of the crime that has been created, the elements thereof. But the only thing that was now a bone of contention was the physical object that they needed to impound. The docket was literally complete, Commissioner. I would believe that from that point, it would have gone to somebody for perusal, maybe a colonel of a captain of some sort for perusal and just oathing, and then it was ready for processing.
Do you mention this in your statement, this which you've just spoken to now? Do you mention it because there's a particular point you want to make? And maybe let me ask it as a form of a question, that is it possible that you had this experience because the police officer that was assisting you may not have known that they could call the LCRC to come to the place, or do you think there was more to it? And if there was more to it, what is it and why do you think so?
I honestly suspect that the officer wasn't courteous enough to even attempt. Had there been such an act on his part, he would have then made further inquiries to the colleagues that he works with, or even maybe just checked with a station commander as to the extent to which they would assist in this regard. But of course, I wouldn't go to an SAPS station as a complainant and further want to dictate or direct them as to how they need to do their work, as it would be expected that as an officer, I know what my duties and work is. So I didn't want to project that in approaching them and say, but I know that LCRC could come. But I had recovered vehicles previously where LCRC could come and ABC. So it was really one of those that I just choose not to read too much into it. The SAPS portion, that is, let's just say it was an material error on their part.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel Thepa, you were at paragraph 59, please.
Yes. So at a later stage, my brother tried to assist to register a case. but I was not in a space to try fight. I wanted to heal from the trauma that I had experienced. During the weekend incident, one of the media liaison officers, Marima Shishi, came to see me. When she came to my house, she came a bit late, and I was between the station and home. She had said that she learned of my incident from one of the freeway members. A freeway unit, it is a section within the operations and specialized divisions, but freeway being more specialized services than operations. So she had learned of the incident from colleagues in the freeway unit. I was shattered. I was out of it. I didn't even say much. All that I had told her was that I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. And
Colonel, at the point in time where
sorry, Ms. Muhlasedi, is there anything that you are perhaps implying here by, for example, saying only friends and family were aware of the incident? Are you implying anything?
I don't want to be drawing inference into things that cannot be substantiated, Chair, but it's prudent that one also reads between the lines in what has been the occurrence of a media inquiry within the department. Thank you.
Because I was asking because there's that saying that news travels,
Maybe.
You may only have been aware of friends and family.
Perhaps.
The friends and family also have friends and
families elsewhere. That's correct, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. So, Colonel Thepa, when your colleague comes to see you at home, what was your engagement with her like, and what was your interaction with her?
No, she came to check up on me, and she had said that she had heard of my incident from the freeway unit guys, and what more can I say in that? If already something had just happened, and I think when she had arrived, she had found me at the station and then said she'd wait for me at home. And that alone just creates a whole lot of disparities that, if questioned and properly ventilated, I'm sure dots and the domino effect will then happen. But of course, like I said, I am not casting any sort of aspersions in this instant.
You can please continue. You're at paragraph 60 of your statement.
So on the Sunday, I then informed the chief of police of what had happened, and of course the chief then implored that please look after yourself, and I must take some time off, and coming back to the office, I must then come see him.
And please describe from paragraph 61 what happened when you did go back to the office.
So, going back to the office, I get to see Chief and further explain in full detail what transpired, and the fact that, I had believed it to be related to work because of the things the assailants kept saying to me. And, he seemed extremely sympathetic. And actually provided that, I must use office resources to try and track and get to the bottom of it. But pertinently so, it was the tracking of my cell phone, which at a later stage, it pinned in Johannesburg at the Central Business District and near taxi rank. the chaos and the havoc that happens there, there's no way of getting the phone. I mean, who do you chase after at a taxi rank?
You're in paragraph 62, Colonel.
So when I got to meet with the PA for the Chief of Police, Ms. Lisel Tyers, she then informs me that, so it was still within the weekend of my incident. She then informs me that a lady came looking for you here, Nomapa. Nomapa, why would Nomapa look for me? Commissioners, it should be noted that this Nomapa is a lady that had a relationship with Brigadier Mkhwanazi, and they also share a child together. As to reasons why Nomapa would look for me in an office that we do not even operate from the same division, we are not even related in any way coming to work stuff. So that truly puzzled me. It truly, truly puzzled me. She works for the EMPD as well? She is an EMPD officer.
Well, thank you.
Colonel Thepa, I know you say you don't want to cast aspersions because you don't have any facts, but
correct.
You must have thought something about this. And that is why you mention it in the statement.
Correct, Commissioner.
And I think you should say why you thought it was significant enough to mention, and say that even with a qualifier, if you want to put in that qualifier that you don't have facts, but this is what you thought of it.
Oh, correct, Commissioner. I wouldn't want an element of what would be hearsay evidence to further be recorded as what is being given by me now. Lisel Tyers then tells me that Nomapa came to the office looking for me on a Monday. It puzzles me because under no circumstance would I communicate with Nomapa unless it is things that would be related to media that she needs to then know. Actually, even the public order policing, there's nothing that they report to us as media on. Media is more the successes, operational guys, and under no circumstance would we have anything. I'm trying to link as to whether what would Nomapa be wanting from me in that aspect. We are not even friends. We are not even associates. We're just colleagues that we know each other from the EMPD. When we walk past each other, a salute, morning, bye, and we would never even engage in a conversation of any sort.
Let me ask you directly, and you can say yes or no, so that this part of the evidence can make sense. Are you, with that paragraph, communicating that her relationship with Brigadier Mkhwanazi, because you do mention the relationship and the fact and how close the relationship was, are you communicating, at least you're thinking about it without facts, that because of a relationship with Brigadier Mkhwanazi, that's how she came to know about what happened to you? Is that what you're seeking to convey, even though you don't have facts for it?
My thinking, Commissioners, is an incident happens over the weekend. That is unknown. But like the Commissioner had said, that family over family, the news travels fast. But how weird is it that a woman who has a child with Brigadier Mkhwanazi would randomly on a Monday morning ensure that if I did arrive at work, and if not, if maybe Lisel was to say, no, Lebo is off sick, she would seek reasons as to say, what's wrong with her, hypothetically. And based on my thinking, I think this is somehow linked to the attack. But that is my thinking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Colonel, can I ask once you got back to work, and in light of your belief that the attack you endured was linked to your work, did you make a request to anyone, Chief Mapieye or a superior, to provide you with some additional security in light of what you'd experienced?
Commissioners, it must be understood the type of environment we work in, where protocol is everything, a chain of command is everything, and furthermore, where seniority would play a role in that. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I'm literally 3 positions below what a deputy chief of police is, if not more. We have an instant where a whole deputy chief of police life is in danger. 6 then assistants from the institution, maybe not even department, the institution, but seemingly could not receive it. Who am I if I'm just a crawling ant within the department to receive such protection?
And which commissioner in particular are you speaking about now?
I'm referring to Commissioner Spies, where, various threats have been made against, him, where you would hear officers that because he's operating a motorcycle, it would be easy to get rid of him. I remember this one time, Commissioner, that prior to my attack, I had a vehicle, a grey Audi, that was following me for some time. I further informed Commissioner Spies. Now it seemed like because of this blue light blesser saga that everybody's just crumbling. This vehicle that is subsequently following me, I sent him the registration. He conducts a vehicle inquiry on it, and it is discovered to be linked to somebody by the surname of Mkwanazi. That's not even coming from the region or area of Ekurhuleni, but instead it is a Pretoria-based address. So that alone, I think just putting the dots together says a lot. Maybe it is Ibongo Fanani and nothing beyond that.
Can you please repeat and explain the last thing you said? Oh,
sorry, Commissioner. Ibongo Fanani, translated to, they happen to have the similar surname, with Brigadier Mkwanazi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel, if we could turn back to paragraph 63, you were explaining to the Commission your views on the usefulness or the effectiveness potentially of asking for help, and you did so with reference to the experience of Commissioner Spies. Can I invite you to explain that in some detail, and how it informed the decision you ultimately took?
Commissioner Spies is also seasonal officer, wherein I have never came across anything that would put him in an instant that he was in at that time. Threats. But due to the role which he had played pertaining the Blue Light Saga, he found himself now being threatened. And with the threats that he had received, the insinuation that he operates a motorbike and he's an easy target, and the security which has been sought, and further discovered that the responses received from the accounting officer was that Revo is issued with a gun and he can protect himself. I'm now issued with a gun and a council vehicle, but why would I be told any different to what he was?
So, just to clarify your position there, based on the experience of Commissioner Spies, in addition to the fact that he's a superior officer to you, you interpreted how he had been treated and made a decision that it was unlikely that you would be afforded security if you sought it. Is that an accurate reflection?
It was unlikely that I would get security because already Chief Mapiyeye was in the know of my incident, was in the know of whatever that's been alleged to, or rather said around Commissioner's piece. Looking at the rank difference alone, that spoke volume. And furthermore, I just needed to take it and move on with life.
Thank you, Colonel. In paragraph 66 and 67 of your witness statement, you make some concluding remarks on this theme. Please share those with the Commission.
In light of the above, I believe that the attack on me was related to my work. The accosters were not financially motivated. Despite driving a brand new vehicle, it was not taken. The accosters did not take any money from me and did not attempt to remove funds from my account. Finally, the continued comments made about looking for information on my phone in circumstances where I did most of my work was on my phone.
Please continue.
It was clear to me that this was meant to serve as a stern warning and that the assault was done to deliver that warning. Despite my years working out in the field and engaging members of the public, of the general public, I have never, in my 16 years of service, been assaulted for doing my job.
Thank you, Colonel. That then concludes that theme, and we then begin a new theme on page 17 with the title, My Role in the EMPD Media Unit. Are you there?
I am there.
Thank you. In paragraph 68, could you please share?
He told me that going forward, all media inquiries concerning Brigadier Mkhwanazi must go to the office of the city manager. This was during a call made to him concerning another media inquiry that I had received.
Col Thepa, what was your understanding? Did you understand Mr. Dlamini to convey an instruction from the city manager, or it was his own initiative or decision? What was your understanding?
No, it was one that was coming from the city manager. So there's absolutely no way that Zweli could then formulate or structure instructions that wouldn't be in line with policy or that would bypass policy, as opposed to, having a situation where he then takes to himself to say, no, Zletegi Mimshana. He calls me Mshana. So I think in a very polite manner of saying that, no, all inquiries pertaining to that is Zletegi Mimshana. That was his instruction, but of course coming from the office of the city manager would have been the instruction of the city manager.
Just to be clear on that, so he did not say so specifically.
No, he didn't say so specifically,
but you are saying there's no way he could have said this because it didn't accord with how the media sections were structured.
That is correct, Commissioner.
All right.
Thank you, Chairperson. Colonel Thepa, still on paragraph 68. Prior to the Jeff Wick's article on the blue lights issue, would a story of this nature involving an EMPD officer in the person of Brigadier Mkhwanazi go through your office in the media unit, or would it have proceeded in the manner directed by Mr. Dlamini here?
No, it would have came directly to our office, and the responses would be sponsored by the office itself. When we speak of directors, they're still within the employment of the Metro as ordinary employees without having contracts attached to them. So when it starts taking that view, then that's when I would refer matters for consideration in the office of the city manager that would speak to a Section 56 appointees, the contractual appointees.
Thank you. Could I ask you to turn the page in your witness statement? You're now on page 18. Paragraph 69. Before you address the commission regarding the contents of paragraph 69, could I ask you to go to your annexure bundle, the other file, and please turn to page 22. Go to the annexure bundle, page 22.
I am there.
Thank you. And then if you have regard to your witness statement, you're on page 18, paragraph 69.
Yes.
I'd ask you to describe the contents of paragraph 69 to the commission.
So,
with reference.
Paragraph 69, late in October 2023, still the year which a media inquiry was forwarded in Feb. In October, then I received a memorandum from the office of the city manager seeking to herein centralize all outbound communication in her office. The upshot of that memorandum was that all interviews and statements, regardless of subject matter and urgency, must go out of her office. It is then marked as, and attached as KX7.
Colonel Thepa, if we turn to the document itself on page 22.
Yes.
Thank you. Please just read in bold the title of the document there.
It's titled Centralization of Communications and Media Inquiries.
Thank you. And the document is directed to?
It is directed to all heads of departments.
From?
From Dr. M.I. Mashazi, City Manager.
And please confirm the date for the commission.
The date, it is the 13th of October, 2023.
Thank you. Now you've informed the commission as to what the upshot of the memorandum was. But could I ask you to have regard to paragraph 1? Paragraph 1 of the document. The final sentence in paragraph 1. It begins with the words department. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Could I ask you to read?
It reads, departments are still expected to sponsor information, but the final communication will be signed off and disseminated from office of the city manager.
Thank you. And then could you just read the final paragraph there?
It says, trust that the request will be well received and adhered to. Kind regards, Dr. M.I. Mashazi, City Manager, signed and dated 13th of October 2023.
Thank you. If you then go back to your witness statement, you're in paragraph 70 of your witness statement. Could I ask you then, what was your response to, upon receipt of this document?
You know, commissioners, I was taken aback by the content of this communique, in the event that there were some issues, errors, or even challenges that were identified in the department. I'm sure they would have communicated that as such, but at no given point have we ever received criticism about the work that the EMPD Media and PR unit was conducting at the time.
Commissioner, it's almost 11:30. Thank you.
Let us adjourn and resume at 11:45.
Thank you.